Gracias. I will speak in English. I am sorry if my Greek is still not up to snuff, but I will speak very slowly, and Andreas volunteered to translate if needed. The question is, when is it needed? And I think you will show your hand when it's needed. When you don't show your hand, I keep talking. Otherwise, I give to Andreas and he can give a quick summary. Would that be okay? Okay, thank you. So I chose maybe a funny title for you. Cyclades Islands in Time. What is it? Not sure. Is it me? Oh, it's me. Islands in Time, and this is not philosophy. This is science, natural science. Philosophy is also science. But you know, of course, as well as I, that we have many, many Greek islands. In fact, out of 46,000 kilometers of shoreline in the Mediterranean, 15,000 belong to Greece. 1/3 of all the shoreline is Greek. That's because we have many small islands. We will circle in on one circle, and that's the Cyclades. And clearly these are islands in the space, in the sea. You can see what is generally considered the Cyclo, that Syros is in the center of, more or less. So they're clearly islands in space. The question is, are they also islands in time? And I will give the answer, but only at the end. First, we do business. The business concerns the Syros Geopark, and I'm very happy that I can say a little bit about what the plans are, what the current project is, and where we may go afterwards. You understand me? Is that okay? Very good, thank you. So, before a project, there are ideas. I have heard about projects, but just from my previous speaker, but obviously all of you have many ideas before the project. And the ideas that I had in mind were primarily 5 or 6. Raise awareness of the locals and of tourists for the geology and the environment on Syros. Develop experience tourism or soft tourism, so not just sea and fun, but promote active vacations. And one good effect of that is that for the tourist industry, it extends the season, because nobody wants to hike in July and August. You want to go in the spring, in the fall, and even in the winter, especially when the winter is like that. And maybe the last point, and perhaps the most central one to you, is that we need sustainable development, not crazy development. We don't need to duplicate Mykonos. We need to combine ecology and economy. And one good way to do that, I think, is by having a geopark. What are the unique selling points, the USP for such a project? Well, of course, coming from geology, the geology of the Cyclades, it's absolutely unique and world famous. Everybody in geology all around the world knows Syros, knows the Cyclades. But most people on this island and most visitors don't know. Why? What is it that's so special? That's one selling point. Another is the environment, which is very rich but fragile, so we need preservation. A third, and it will be part of this project, is archaeology. Many, many sites are unknown or poorly known and quite vulnerable, so they need protection. The challenge is in geology and in archaeology to show, to highlight what is here, and at the same time to protect it. So to avoid vandalism, to avoid people coming and taking the things to happen by themselves and thereby destroying. After the ideas came a project, and the project currently is called Activities to Develop Geotourism based on the geological history of Syros. It's not my title, it's a little crazy. just why not geology in Syros? That's the real title. And it has funding from the Greek Ministry of Economy and Development in a special purpose development program for the South Aegean, so it's not European money. When I talk about this elsewhere, outside Greece, everybody says, oh, of course, you have a project, all the money from the EC, and I say, no, it's from here. Who is doing it? There are two main partners, the municipality of Syros, and the University of the Aegean, the Syros campus in particular. And there are behind those two an international scientific council, where of course my university is involved, but really top-level researchers from many countries. There are stakeholders, and you are among the stakeholders here. Various interest groups will want to be part of the project in some way or other, and this is not very well defined yet, but KINSAT, the Climate Preservation Fund, the Syros hiking team, and various others. I don't name them all. What is the geopark? The geopark is two parts. It's the geomuseum plus geopaths, about which we have heard at least the physical part so far. And the project runs for 3 years, 2019 to 2022, so we better get going. Two parts, as I said, the Geomuseum here in Engi, slightly out towards Mana, and the geopaths in Apanomeria. I'll show you a little about Apanomeria. This is a funny map for you. Just go back quickly. It's this top rectangle outlined, but now colored by geologists. And what you see is an extremely simplified map of what the north of Syros looks like. I can't point it out from here, but you may recognize this colorful zone is the main interest zone for many, many geologists who come here between Campos and Ria, and Campos on the other side. Also shown in three colors, green, red, and purple, are three of the main paths. They are top priority paths because along these you see a lot of spectacular geology. As we have just seen in the movie before and then in the previous talk, these are paths that exist. They don't need to be built from scratch, but they need to be improved, and in particular they need to be validated for the geology. Some paths now not shown further south shall be added in the next phase. We have 7 in mind in total. What's the concept? There's a didactic concept between combining a geomuseum and the geopaths. In fact, they are happy partners, so we could call them they're married. The geomuseum is in a central location, easily accessible here in town. The purpose mainly is to highlight why Syros is so unique in geology and how it is situated in world geology, if you will. We will show a lot of interactive stuff, multimedia shows, virtual reality, but also simply the rocks of this island. They're fantastic. You probably know, but I'm sure you don't know why. So it's based, even though virtual reality, multimedia, you could say, oh, they want to just Walt Disney. No, 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 no. Solid information based on top research, no fake news. You will be sure that what you see there is for real, not fantasy. We hope to attract tourist groups, especially groups, and to motivate visitors to go out and explore on their own, to see it all in nature. So from here, we want to go on the geopaths. The geopaths on the right, of course, set in a spectacular landscape, unspoiled environment, largely unspoiled, in particular, and active tourists, meaning people who want to move. Combine the spirit of exploring and physical activity, exploring in your head and exploring by your feet. There will be a lot of information given for visitors with different interests, not just geology, ecology, photography, archaeology, botany, as well as geology. It will be self-guided with interactive apps, so you bring your handheld devices, your smartphones, you have an app or a tablet, and it guides you and it refers you back to the Geomuseum, because you will have questions that you want answers for, so the paths send you back to the museum. Geotourism relies on this couple. You need both. Okay? Now, why geology? This is a newsflash in not even 2 minutes for people who are not geologists. If it were on CNN News, it would say Styros is a fossil subduction zone, one result of the north-south convergence of 2 giant tectonic plates. Okay, and then boom, boom, boom. More than 1,500 kilometers of the African plate have gone down below Eurasia. 1,500 kilometers. We know, we see. You don't see it at the surface, but we see it with tomography. In the Cyclades, and especially in Syros, this process has really brought out spectacular geology, very visible today. And the evolution over the last 65 million years, of course, is very complex, but very, very well researched. And I'll give you a very, very brief story. Subduction, for those who don't know what subduction is, you have Africa on the right, Eurasia on the left, 2 continents colliding, one goes down beneath the other. And this slab continues to 1,500 kilometers. You see where Syros is indicated, Santorini, Crete, so you have an idea of the space. This is today, or yesterday. But this is how it evolved. The top one is exactly the same one as you saw here. That's the cross section. And then you have it 15 million years ago, 30, 45, and 65 million years ago. And you see that 65, the bottom picture, Africa is going steeply down below Eurasia. And the Cyclades formed when this very steep structure started to relapse. Whoops, sorry. In the first phase, the blue stuff is what's going to be Syros, or at least Syros and Cyclades. The second one is approaching the surface. Whoops, and here it is at the surface. I am only showing these to explain nothing at all, except that we know a lot about Syros. There are probably over 1,200 papers on geology of Syros alone, and many more on the other islands. It's unbelievably well researched. So that's Syros quickly for non-geologists. So return to islands in space, and now it's not a question, it's in time. So I give you the final answer. Many questions, especially children always ask, well, has Syros always been an island, and how old is it? And I'll give you the answers very quickly. The Protocyclades were born when the Aegean Sea started forming in the Oligocene about 28 million years ago. That's, for us, the day before yesterday. It's a very short time ago. But most of the Mediterranean, from Gibraltar all the way to now Israel, dried up in the Messinian crisis. Dried up in a very short time, only 5 million years ago. And so, of course, at that time, Syros was not an island. There was no island. There were 2 continents. There was no sea, practically. But the sea came back very rapidly when the Strait of Gibraltar opened again. And then there was something like a protocycladic super island. And it is shown in brown. The way it was only 20,000 years ago, not 20 million, 20,000. That's yesterday. It was a huge one big island. Not all the green and brown was linked. It was sometimes completely above sea, and for a long time the brown part that you see Syros together with all the other Cycladic islands except the very western one, Syros, Seriphos, and Kyakithos, were one island. So it wasn't yet Syros as we know it today. During the latest ice age, we had a super Syros, or a super Cycladic island. And then sea levels started to rise. They rise now at about 1.9 millimeters per year. Nothing to run away from. In the last 12,000 years, Syros was as it is today, more or less. Okay, final point I wanted to go ahead. What is next? What comes after the Syros Geopark project? Just some ideas on future developments. Medium term, I will say it would be quite interesting to combine forces with the other islands. Many geologists who have worked on Andros, Kinos, Serifos, Paros, Naxos, Milos, who are keen to develop the geopark. And it could become, of course, united into a UNESCO geopark, such as we have in Lesbos, Sidoritis, Demos Luertus, Vikos, and Sitian, and maybe 20-something Cyclades geopark. Thank you very much.